Please tell us your story.
I have a statement to read for the record, and the statement, even if it's just in my name, because the case is me against Monica Couto, my wife is fully on board with this. Okay, it's our statement. I'm making this statement as a witness for the prosecution of the citations, because that's how I was advised by the police chief. There are currently 3 complaints against Monica Couto in reference to the violations of Title 4, Subtitle 3, Animal Control, 12-4904, Animal Disturbance Prohibited. The first one was April 15, the second one was May 10, and the most recent one was this past Saturday, 6/1. I didn't have a chance to notarize it yet, so it's not filed, but I have a copy of it if that would be allowed into evidence. I stand behind all the facts contained in those 3 complaints and represent that they are accurate. I also represent that Monica Couto and her husband Pedro Couto attempted to intimidate me from seeking justice as follows. After filing April 15 complaint, Pedro Couto made baseless charges against me and threatened contacting authorities and legal action via email, which is captured in attachment 1, which I would submit to. After filing May 10 complaint, Monica Couto called Arundel Police Department and made false charges as to my legally documenting animal disturbances. The officer informed me that her accusation regarding taking pictures is without merit and that he will not even file a report regarding this. As a note, Arundel County Animal Control Commission advises complainants such as me that gathering picture evidence, including videos, is legitimate, legal, and proper. The latest complaint, this past Saturday, 6/1, was again followed by a threatening email from Pedro Couto. See attachment. I have an attachment number 2. The Commission should be aware of another revealing aspect that is relevant in this situation. We live in a regulated subdivision which is governed by a comprehensive and clearly written declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which was signed by all owners, including Lot 4 owners Monica and Pedro Couto. The copy is attached. Relevant Article 2 in this declaration, called Property, Lot, Uses, Restrictions, and Limitations on page 3, states as follows in reference to animals. Animals such as horses, dogs, and cats are allowed in reasonable numbers in relation to the size of a lot, provided that such animals are not a source of annoyance or nuisance to the neighborhood or other owners and do not roam at large. Dog houses and dog runs must be screened from view from the access road and adjacent lots. Then it makes a point about no livestock or poultry shall be raised, bred, or kept. I submit to this commission that Lot 4 owners, Monica and Pedro Couto, intentional and bad faith non-compliance with these lawful provisions forced us to seek relief under Article 2 of Anne Arundel County Code. Furthermore, this was and still is detrimental to peace and quiet enjoyment of properties in this subdivision. Lot 4 owners essentially converted their entire building lot, which is 300 by 360 feet, 108.9 thousand square feet, approximately 2.5 acres, into a vast dog run, and this is entirely unwarranted or unneeded for one medium-sized dog. As presently delineated, the whole 2.5 acre is lined with invisible fence. This enables the dog to get within feet to neighboring property lines and promotes undesirable conduct, especially in this case of a demonstrably untrained, undomesticated animal with aggressive tendencies. Number 9, I submit further that entire burden of responsibility and duty to not disturb persons and neighborhoods is on animal owners. Owners of Lot 4, Monica and Pedro Couto, failed and are still failing to properly and effectively obedience, supervise, and effect corrective intervention during the events of disruption of quiet by the animal in their ownership. Finally, in the last 2 days, in their latest attempt to shift and evade their responsibility regarding animal ownership, they are trying to blame people living next door, such as us, but not limited to us, for their problems with their disruptive animal. They claim now that we have to submit to being sniffed by the animal to accommodate its therapeutic need and become, as a result, less disruptive. It's a bizarre requirement to us, since all others, for instance, our guests, contractors, delivery men, and so on, would have to, by definition, submit to this process of sniffing to alleviate the problem. This is truly outrageous demand, since especially we are also allergic to dogs. Page 1 of this attachment contains an admission by Monica Couto that their dog barks at us when he sees us. I hope this testimony will help in impartial and fair review of this case. Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, I just have the attachment that I would like to make a part of the record, and my wife can make a statement in support of this.
It's, do you have the pictures?
That's all. Yes, it's the pictures are there.
It is an email, what he just read to you. Looks like text messages.
Yes.
Yes, and there is of course
Covenances.
the citations. I mean the affidavits are supported by picture record.
Yes, they have
It's
that
all,
in their
it was
file.
all presented except the last one, since the last one happened so recently that I didn't have the chance to submit it. I mean, because it's dependent on my notary public confirmation, so it's still here, but I cannot submit it, but it happened.
So we're looking
All
at
right.
two
We
citations.
are looking at 2, and I will do today the third one whenever it's and submitted to the.
So it's one citation per charge per animal. So since there is an additional affidavit that was filed, but it was also for animal disturbance. So it's 2 affidavits, 1 citation. One was submitted, it's supporting evidence.
So when I was outside, I went outside toward Vladimir, and then I was going into a car with my friends, and the dog was there, and it started. When it barks, it's vicious. It's vicious, and I find it very, very upsetting. And I also find that I watch when I should go out of my house onto my property to walk around. I have a garden, which is closer to the fence, and anytime any kind of movement by our property, the dog just barks and barks and barks.
I'm only seeing one reference here to a $50 fine. Is that?
Yes, it's just 1 citation.
Oh, that's it?
That's
Okay.
just 1
Just wanna make
citation. But there is an additional affidavit that was filed as supporting evidence. It would be page 1, 2, it's 4. Page
If I may, as I mentioned, there is the first affidavit in April 15,
Right.
the second in May, and the third just 2 days ago. But again, I didn't have a chance to submit it because it needs to be
Understood.
notarized, so it's sort of pending, but I fully intend to submit it today.
Understood. Why isn't the second one subject to a fine as well?
It's one citation per affidavit per violation. Since they're both filed for animal disturbance, we don't issue multiple. If there's one pending, there's not multiple citations issued.
Okay.
If I may, from the write-up we received from the police chief, is that you only take one complaint citation and possible fine, and then all the other complaints are in support of that complaint. That's what I understand.
Yes, as supporting evidence.
So if I may, if we could run through the two that are here. On April 15th at 11 a.m., you describe specifically that the dog was running towards your residence and barking loudly in an aggressive manner.
Yes.
How long did that go on?
I would say maybe 5 minutes, but again, in all cases of even those cases that are not documented, we tend to retreat from being close. So the dog stops at that point because we retreat even if we believe that we don't have to retreat from our own property.
Right, understood.
But again, 5 minutes.
Okay, and then on May 10th at 12:30 p.m., how long did that go on? So essentially you wrote the same thing.
It was pretty much the same thing. Yes.
Okay, so about 5 minutes.
Yes.
And when you
But
say an
again,
aggressive...
we mitigate by retreating, and again, we don't have to retreat from our own property.
Right.
The dog is supposed to be controlled and directed or whatever to resolve the situation on their property, not on our property.
I understand that. I'm just trying to add to the facts of the case. So when you say in an aggressive manner, describe what's going on to me, please.
Well, he charges and barks aggressively, and it's a what I believe the code addresses, which is a disturbing a quiet of us and the neighborhood.
Okay.
And it's not that the dog, not yet anyway, would bite or anything, but it's a disturbance of quiet, and I believe that's how it's written.
Okay.
And if I may, the affidavit that we are submitting today, reflecting what happened on Saturday, there is a much bigger explanation of what is happening.
Understood. Yeah, we can't look
I
at that today because it's
Fine,
not
but
part of our file, but...
It illustrates what's happening there,
Okay.
even in more detail than those previous ones.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else to add? Before we hear their side of the story?
Not right now.
No.
No.
I guess I'll preface this by saying the breed is a German Short-Hair Pointer. He's 48 pounds. He's a puppy. He just turned a year old on Friday. Pointers are bird dogs. They're hunting dogs. We didn't acquire Oliver for hunting. We've researched breeds. He's not an aggressive breed. And he's a pointer. He just sits outside sometimes and runs after birds. He does occasionally bark. This is why we're here today. I have notarized copies of people who have dogs sat for me. Oliver, I'm not sure if you're familiar, goes to Dogwood Acres, which is a facility in Davidsonville. When I acquired Oliver in July, we got him at the end of July of last year, we reached out to a positive, there's different trainers, I've learned. This trainer's out of Chesapeake Beach. He couldn't be here today, unfortunately. He was planning on coming, but something came up because he's boarding 2 dogs right now for training. He is in Chesapeake Beach, and he is Best Buddy training, clicker training, all positive reinforcement. We are very responsible dog owners. We have a 16-year-old daughter. We moved to a very open area. We're on a little over 2 acres of land, and we brought Jeff in to do a 6-week training session at our home. It started in August, and he would come every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m., and we would start sometimes inside, and we would move on in the outside. Oliver was contained for the first 3 to 4 months because going to the vet, they scare you with all these vaccinations, and he was too young. So he was basically inside of the house for 3 or 4 months. So no one even probably knew we had a dog. In January, he did a 3-week board and train at this gentleman's facility, his house. He boards dogs. So my dog has been through training. However, he's a dog and he does bark occasionally. We have an invisible fence. When we had the invisible fence installed in November or December, they installed it a couple feet from the property line, which I didn't realize was a big deal. When invisible fence comes out and they sell you on the product, They draw it up, they give you what that they think is the best way of installing, and they give you a price, and you agree. I thought being a responsible citizen and a couple and a dog owner, getting an invisible fence and spending thousands of dollars was very much responsible. I have taken every precaution. Just to back up a little bit, actually, there's a diary. All the original copies are here. So when we talk about aggressive, it's very interesting to me that my dog is allowed to go to a facility 3 times a week on average from the hours of 7 to 4, and everything points back to a very energetic, because German Shorthair Pointers are very energetic breeds. They need the running. And one of the very first things that the trainer told me was, if you want a very well-behaved dog, get him interacting with babies and little children and other dogs, or else you're gonna contain him, and he's never going to know how to react when he sees other human beings or children. So we don't have children yet, which I guess that's a whole nother thing, because maybe kids making noise outside will be a problem as well. But we have a big family and a lot of nieces, and I have a lot of friends with babies. So every interaction I try, I try to be positive. We're always present. By submitting documents of Oliver going to daycare, is to show and point a picture that this is not a dog who is outside all day long. This is not a dog who has access in and out through a little doggy door. We don't leave our dog at home unsupervised. My dog, I don't chain him outside. I do let him out occasionally. He is outside. He runs around our yard. We have a very big yard. He has the right, and we have the right, to be able to enjoy our area with our puppy. Does he bark? Yeah, absolutely. Dogs do bark. Is he an aggressive breed? Is he an aggressive dog? No. And I have every person that's ever come into contact with Oliver can vouch for that. April 15th. Well, if you want to know why my husband sent an email, it's because my 16-year-old daughter is outside on a Monday, the very first day of her break, and she's running around. And my neighbor comes outside and snaps pictures. How do you think a 16-year-old is going to react when the neighbor is at the fence line snapping pictures of a dog? Of course, her father is going to send an email that says, please, do not photograph our property. Do not take pictures of my daughter. Do not take pictures of my ground. I don't know how else any other parent would respond. On May 10th, I came home to let my dog out during my lunch break. He goes to work with my husband maybe once or twice a week, which the owner of the company can vouch in one of the notarized letters. On the other days, he's at Dogwood all day long. I come home on May 10th. I know exactly what Mr. Zajic is referencing. I find it interesting that when I come home, you weren't outside doing yard work. I let my dog outside for a couple minutes, and then I hear him barking, and I go to the window. Again, another incident where he's flashing pictures. So I did call the cops, and I said, I need to know if I need to come down to Edgewater Branch or if you need to come here, because this is awkward for me. Every time Oliver goes outside, there is paparazzi. How do you expect for a dog to react? A dog is going to bark. That is their way to communicate. When I hear Oliver bark, we make every attempt to go outside and get him, or play with him. He's doing his job. People have pets for many reasons. Oliver alerts us when people are in the driveway. Oliver alerts us when other neighbors, lot 2 and lot 1, come on our property. I have 2 other neighbors who testified and provided a letter that they don't have any issues. On Friday, they actually walked with their drink in their hand. We sat all the way in the back of the lot. Oliver didn't even pay them any mind. And the reason I sent a text message was dogs sniff. That's their nature. That's what they do. They assess energy. Here's a dog that already knows, wow, my neighbor doesn't like my owners. My neighbor doesn't like me because he's always flashing pictures. On March 30th, he was outside, I guess, taunting him and pointing at him. I don't know how else the dog is supposed to respond. I don't know how I'm supposed to respond. I have taken the precaution measures. We just planted 60 the green giant trees in an effort to eventually have a hedge, a natural hedge. So you know what? If Oliver doesn't see him mowing the grass or he doesn't see them outside, he's not gonna communicate or make his noise. The invisible fence, I called them and I told them, look, I'm having issues, you need to move it. They came out last week, it's 18, 19 feet from the property line. I'm here today, I don't care about the fines, I'm here for mediation. I also have rights. reasons why the cops were called. And there's nothing on the record, because the cop told me this is just a civil dispute and you merely simply called me for consultation because I really don't know what else to do. If you would approach me, sir, in a graceful and meaningful manner, I would have made all the necessary precautions. But I don't know how else, unless I remove my dog's vocal cords, how to keep him from barking. He doesn't run outside for hours on end barking. We treat this dog like it's a baby. He's, I don't know. I mean, that's dogs bark. So if there's any sort of advice to give me, that would be great. Oliver, I can assure you, is not an aggressive dog. And Dogwood, again, if you're not familiar, they are a very big company, well known in the area. I'm positive that if he was an aggressor, for liability reasons, he would not be allowed to go there 3 times a week. And it's funny because we were back here listening to very unfortunate and sad cases, and they have live cameras. So for fun, we pull sometimes live cameras up and watch. Oliver right now is just laying in the yard with all the dogs. He's not doing anything wrong. I don't like the fact that he barks, but dogs bark. So I guess there's another citation coming at me today. I don't know when they're gonna stop. I would like to have a positive resolution. If you could tell me what you would like for me to do. It's a quiet neighborhood. If you call it a neighborhood, it's a street with 3 houses. If you drive through an all-American dream neighborhood, you're going to see kids running outside. You're going to see dogs playing. That's all I'm trying to fulfill, is just to have a family with a pet. I don't want him to be annoying to anyone. That's not our angle here, but we're trying to do the very best that we can. So I don't know. And receiving citation after citation after citation is not the solution, and it's not the problem. I've moved my invisible fence. It's not foolproof. It was never meant to be for obedience training. It's so that I know where my dog is. I thought that was being responsible. Oliver runs outside when my husband's outside cutting the grass. I'm constantly, because I have a fear, I'm always opening the blinds and just kind of scoping him out. Where is he? What is he doing? Yeah, occasionally he does bark, so I apologize for that. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, to me it's very apparent that Mr. Zajic is not trying to find a resolution to what he considers to be a problem. And I don't see it as a problem. This is nothing shy of harassment. If this was something that was to be remediated, you go ahead and, make an affidavit. We'll go ahead and, sit here and we'll all, deliberate and come to some sort of resolution. Where we're already on number 3 now. So you can see the nature of my neighbor, who is resentful that I believe that, we are the last ones in the neighborhood. I think he's maybe trying to show his dominance, or that he's the alpha in the neighborhood. I don't understand why he's doing that. And he claims that he retrieves every time that Oliver barks. This Saturday, I was cutting the grass.
I actually have videos too.
Oliver was where the fence is, which is about 20 feet from his fence. He ran towards my dog to go take a video. I didn't have enough time from my backyard to get to where my dog was, because I saw him start moving around real fast. He ran to start taking his pictures.
I just don't know how else a dog is going to react if you have someone. I mean, the only reason I sent the text message was because I'm done. I don't know what else to do. If you'd like to meet Oliver obviously barks, and that's what dogs do. They bark and they sniff. So I from the bottom of my heart apologize if you're offended and if you think that that's outrageous. But dogs smell. If they know who you are, they use that sense. I'm trying to find solutions. My other 2 neighbors don't have any issues. They walk down the road. Oliver pays them no mind because he knows who they are now.
And I believe all of his complaints are out of retaliation, because the first time that I did send him an email, I do not appreciate a 76-year-old man taking pictures of my 16-year-old daughter. So,
which apparently I guess is legal. Which
legal or not is something that I don't agree with.
Cops told us. So
and I do not want that, because my daughter was not being supervised. As soon as I sent that email, coincidentally, the first affidavit is made. The second time, my wife called the cops because she felt unsafe, because there had been altercations between us. As soon as we call the cops, and that happens the same day, he goes and does his second affidavit. So I sent, this is irrelevant to the story, but Mr. Zajic owes me a lot of money. I sent him an email, he didn't like that, so now here we are with the third one.
Now, we have 2 affidavits that are on file notarized, correct? So those are relevant to this case. So if he files a third one, that's a fresh new case, correct? Because we're going to resolve today's with a vote, so that starts a whole new case, is that correct?
Unless this, today is appealed to district court, then it would be still considered open.
Okay.
Just to advise, I did bring information on mediation with us because we do have a mediator through the state attorney's office for both parties, just for future reference.
I have videos if you would like to see, I mean, of Oliver outside. There have been times where yeah, he does bark. If he sees my neighbor, he does run to the property line and bark. There are also other times that he doesn't, and he's just sprawled out enjoying the sun, and my neighbors are doing their thing. And I would never ask for anyone to feel intimidated or not feel like they can't garden or be outside, which is why I sent the text message, because it also is not the best feeling for me. I want to be able to have peace, but I should be able to have a dog. And right now there are no children in the neighborhood. I can only imagine that if I have children outside running and making noise, that will constitute as disturbance of a quiet neighborhood. There has to be some solution.
Right.
And
We have
mediation to
neighbors.
this.
We have neighbors that. Excuse me. We're
They are
talking.
mixing so
One
many
second,
issues.
we'll get to you, one second.
We have neighbors that have horses,
Right.
and constantly they do make horse noises. So it's something that, and I actually like it. To me, it's, they're not part of our little association, but they're right next door. They have 30 acres next to us, and the horses are there, and they're running their UTVs. They're doing whatever it is. So there's always going to be noises.
Yes, sir.
Well, I find it outrageous that these people are mixing other issues that are totally irrelevant to this, like owing them some money which they try to extort from us, and implying that we abuse their minor daughter, or this is so outrageous. It shouldn't be even permitted for them to do this. This is about a noise complaint, and we documented it, and we stand by what we documented, and that's it. That's what we want to be resolved. Whether it's resolved by fines or mediation or whatever, we want that resolved. But you can see that they are trying to throw in all sorts of extraneous issues. For instance, they say they planted trees to affect some kind of boundary so the dog will not see through. These big trees are ours. These little trees, 2 feet tall, that they installed last Friday or last Saturday, they say this is the barrier. This will not become effective until 5 or 6 or 7 years from now. So they try to convince you that they are doing all these measures to alleviate situations, and it's an outright lie.
We're trying. What do you want us to do?
I'm sorry.
We're not going to have the two of you talk to each other, but we are listening to the facts of the case, and that's all we're going to consider today. So please understand that the things that are not relevant to this case, we don't take those things into consideration. Okay?
The reason I made this statement was just for history. It clearly shows that we are trying to accommodate. We cannot go out and buy 10-foot trees, especially when you need 60 of them. We have moved our fence over. Those things do not come free. So we are doing everything we can to accommodate.
Question, your dog has never left
That I
alone?
know of.
He does not run at large.
You're always home when the
Yes,
when the
I
dog's
do
out.
not leave my dog ever.
And if I think I heard you correctly, when the dog does start barking and you hear it,
Yes.
you quickly come out and
We go
retrieve the
get
dog, correct?
We do every possible meaner that we can. I don't want to hear my dog bark, to be quite honest. But if
I
he's
would say on
barking,
average,
hold on, he's doing his job and he's alerting me. So
The
I don't just
video
let my.
I don't think
I want to know
relevant
what's up.
to
Is the
these
mailman
dates.
coming? Do I have a UPS delivery? Is there someone? Sometimes we have deer in the yard and he's barking and running after a deer. So yes, anytime that I'm aware of Oliver barking, I run out there. But let me just set the record. Oliver does not bark. He's not running the yard barking when he's alone or there's nothing in sight. It's usually in response to something.
And he is.
So-
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Couto sent an email about how we need to get a life. And I just would like to say that
That was not an
this
email.
is our life. Our life is living at our home, trying to have peace in our backyard, and that is our life.
And we respect that, but we have to find a solution to this problem. And citations is not the solution.
Ms. Couto, could we have her video from her phone? I just want to see the videos
I have
that
a
you
ton of
have.
videos.
Something before, or something in the time frame of April 15th to June 1st, if you have something in
April
the time.
15th to
I
June
don't-
1st.
Excuse me, what kind of video is being presented of the dog doing things at the property or from some dog park?
No, I'm not gonna show you videos of him at a dog park. That's not relevant.
So-
This is video of the dog in her backyard, is
Or the
my
front yard,
understanding.
or,
Okay.
hold on, I actually have one from Saturday. I think you were cutting the grass, and I came outside. I was nervous. I'm like, oh gosh, is he outside barking or something? Sorry, just a minute. Okay, I think this is it. If you press play, I
And I'm
think
sure
I'll-
you'll be able to see the video too in just a moment.
We have to see the video too.
Oh, hit play again, that was it. Just cut short.
Oliver? Weaver?
Okay.
I have other ones. I don't think you guys. The trainer did send me when he did his 3-week boarding. He sent me his. He sent me a video
It
that he
doesn't
made.
show
of,
anything.
Well,
What-
you're outside.
This shows, this is the southern part of their fence. We are on the northern part. I don't know what, I don't see anything here at all.
He knows you're outside. He's not bothering you. That's what I'm.
It's a fictitious situation that,
Okay, I have another.
It's just another piece. I'm an evidence-based person.
I have another video.
they try to tell us that they try to accommodate, and everything they do is to inflame the situation instead of saying, yes, we will.
Sir,
No.
I don't think moving the fence 18 feet back from the property line is doing anything to inflame the situation. And if anything, they seem to be making, I don't even understand what you're trying to say here.
No, I'm not
They
talking about
planted
the
60
fence
feet,
being moved.
I can't even. I'm
Shall we
sorry.
close for?
You can see my frustration, and also what I would like to put on the record, the statement of a dog run, that is called our yard. We do not have a dog run.
We're not here to talk about the covenant.
No.
We don't enforce the covenant.
Yeah, that's,
So we're
that
not going to even
doesn't,
discuss that.
that's not even
It has
applicable
nothing
to
to do
us.
with this.
But I don't want to have to come back here every
It has nothing, doesn't.
every Monday.
I understand
of
that, but
the first-
it does not matter. We're not here to discuss what happens on the covenant. We're here to discuss the
Do
citation.
you
Right,
want
but
to
we're
see another
saying-
video?
I understand, no, I
The first
understand.
Monday of July, we're gonna be here. The first Monday of August, we're gonna be here, and I'm not retired like this
Hey,
man.
I get it, man.
This
I
is
get
not,
it. I get it, but we're here to discuss this, and unfortunately, he has the right to keep bringing these. That's how it is.
I just wanted to ask Tiffany what the options are for mediation. What she wanted her to clarify that, just a hair.
That's just information on mediation, and I'll give it to both parties.
Can we do it now?
It's not through Animal Control. Animal Control Commission is here
So is this
for
something that we can
visually
order?
dangerous, vicious,
Like
dangerous
as
orders,
our-
and for
I think something you can recommend.
This is
You
through
know
a
what I mean?
mediator, a trained mediator.
I mean, I'm happy. I'm not.
And this is something that we can recommend.
essentially.
It's not.
You can recommend it, but, I mean, it's not an enforcement.
Right, okay, gotcha. That's what that's all I wanted to know.
We'll share this
Thank
with
you.
you
That's what I
and
wanted.
encourage you to obviously
I would
consider
love
it.
to.
But I'm gonna, I've made copies
But
of
that's-
those.
Okay,
That's-
thank you.
Post.
Information on.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what that was.
I think this goes beyond the scope of just a pet
Right.
complaint.
Are we done with testimony? Because we were ready to deliberate.
I mean, I have more
Robin?
stuff if you want it, videos.
I don't think so.
I don't.
That's
I
fine.
think you've made your case. I think you've made your case.
I can't hear her.
She said ask for a break to consult.
Okay.
Consult
I'm sorry?
With the attorney.
with our county attorney.
I suspect you all might have a question for the attorney about what your abilities were based on what you're saying.
That's
and
right.
you can call him.
Great.
Okay.
Sure.
If you're open to that, if he is able.
Do we have to make a
Well,
motion for a break?
We have to make a
Yeah, you
motion
have to
for a
make
break.
a motion to close the meeting so that you can seek legal advice.
I don't feel I need legal advice. Who needs legal advice? I mean, if they opt for mediation, I think that's between the parties. That's not our concern.
Okay.
What the-
I mean, I suggested, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think that's a
But
part
you
of our.
may be able to require it.
And that was my question. My question was, could we require it as part of our order to do?
Can I ask one question?
No,
One second.
I don't think we're close.
Is that what you're trying, do you wanna, I mean, I think if that's the case, we should
I mean, I
contact
think if it's something that we can
think we need that.
require, I think that would be beneficial in this case. So maybe we should seek that
I
clarification.
think we need the clarification.
So I'll make a motion to take a break to obtain some legal counsel.
I second.
5-minute recess.
Yes.
Okay.
Seconded, voted.
Oh, aye.
Take a short break here and see if we.
We're open.
All right. Do you have anything to add before we deliberate? Okay.
We're closed.
We're closed for deliberations. We may ask you questions, but you can't
We're
ask.
closed to public participation.
I suggest that we throw everything out for the moment. And the reason I'm saying that, a few years from now, the defendants hope to have a family. They're gonna have maybe 1, 2 boys, children playing in the backyard, and they're gonna surely be keeping as much, if not more, noise than the dog that's barking for 4 or 5 minutes. Whatever the case might be, I see them taking the necessary steps to alleviate the problem in terms of planting bushes, little shrubberies, and I see them that they have moved everything back. I think they mentioned 18 or 19 feet from the line. I don't see the dog being dangerous or vicious or whatever terminology you want to use, because it's not crossing the line from their property into the neighbor's property. I don't see any reason to continue, in my opinion, with this issue at hand. That's my take.
I agree with a few points, obviously. You know, I feel like, you know, the fact that trees were planted, the fact that fences were moved, those things are not cheap to do. I feel like there's been an effort made there to try to get to that point, you know, to try to keep this from happening again and again. I mean, a $50 citation here turning into whatever down the line is a drop in the bucket compared to what it costs to do those things. I think, obviously, mediation is a good thing to do between neighbors. I think that there's no reason why not. But, I mean, like the man said, this happens 5 minutes at a time. The other neighbor is now stating that it's only happening because the neighbor is approaching the fence line. So I have a hard time, you know, upholding this with all of that other going on.
I have to agree. I don't, you know, we have to define what's a nuisance and what isn't, and I don't feel like that's been sustained here today.
I agree, not enough to substantiate on this particular date, this particular
Right.
event.
It seems as though they're responsible dog owners. The dog is not left chained in the yard all by itself to bark all day. It's when the dog starts barking, the owner comes out and brings it back in. It is because it's a puppy, and it barks because something unfamiliar is approaching it. I don't believe it meets the standard of being a nuisance because it's a couple minutes. That's what dogs do. So, you know, I recommend that we dismiss this citation. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Thank you. And we talked to the county attorney, and while we cannot mandate remediation, we strongly recommend that you take advantage of it to resolve this, because I don't believe this situation is going to be resolved on its own.
Yes. So on your copies of